Today, like the recent wildly popular book series Romanticizing Abusive Relationships, my video comes to you in 3 parts. Part the first is, I believe in equal rights, but I'm not a feminist because I don't hate men. Okay, so a lot of people, well maybe not a lot of people, but some people have this misconception that feminism means either hating men and or eschewing everything that has traditional associations with traditional femininity. And so both of those things aren't really a part of what I would call feminism and what most mainstream feminists now I think would call feminism. So I think that a lot of people have this misconception that to be feminist you have to hate men, and that's not it at all. Feminism is just about having men and women on an equal footing and having equal rights regardless of gender. I think that maybe people confuse the fact that a lot of feminists are angry at patriarchy, confusing a sort of hatred of patriarchy with a hatred of men themselves. The other aspect is that people, I think that feminists hate everything that's associated with traditional femininity. My view of feminism, and I think a lot of mainstream feminism now, is that fighting for women and men to be able to express themselves and their gender however they want, according to their personal preferences and tastes, rather than what society dictates. Where I think people get confused is, as feminists, we want to fight for the right to be able to not express ourselves in traditionally feminine ways if we don't want to. And part the second is maybe more serious objections to the word feminism, which is that a lot of feminism in the past hasn't been intersectional enough. So it's been very straight, white, cis, women focused, and not enough space has been given to, or even the rights of have been disregarded and sort of walked all over, of like the LGBTQ community, women of color, and all sorts of other communities of women that aren't like white straight cis women. And so obviously that's a really big problem, and it still is a problem in some circles of feminism today. I think all we can do as feminists, especially when you do happen to fall into that category of white straight cis women like I do, is just to really try and educate yourself on intersectionality and be really cognizant of what you're doing, and making sure that it's not just and that it doesn't just have the interests of your specific demographic in mind, but takes in the broader category of all women and all people. Third part is why I still use the label feminism, even though it is a little bit problematic, and why I think that it is a little bit valuable. So first, I heard a really good talk the other day about someone who was talking about feminism, and she was talking about how basically, like, really what you should be doing rather than, like, feminism is being a human rights advocate, focusing on the women's movement. Basically what she's saying is that you can focus on women's issues, but you have to be cognizant of the other human rights that are out there, and make sure that in the process of working towards women's equality, you have to make sure that you're not disregarding or stepping on other human rights. And I think that's really important, and I think as people we like to put labels on things, and it helps us to sort of understand things and categorize what we believe. And I think feminism is useful in that context because it's a well-known label, it's fairly well defined, and it's short, it's easy. I'm comfortable using it because when I assume a label, I don't assume that I agree with everything that everyone else who uses that label thinks and feels. And I'm not saying when I use that label that I agree with everything that they do. I hope that that sort of cleared up what I mean by feminism and maybe some misconceptions that you might have had about feminism. And Rika, I will see you on Thursday.